8A looked way different this year, but that still doesn't mean we didn't learn anything. Our takeaways next.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Brian Smith, host of The Portal, here with us to recap A-Day as you are next to me in the press box and on the field all day on Saturday. We'll talk about the wide receivers. We'll talk about the defensive back room as well as the quarterbacks, but just overall takeaways. I do think and strongly believe, Brian, that this roster is significantly more talented than any roster we've seen over the Hugh Freeze era and over the Brian Harsin era and most of the Gus Malzahn teams. Like when you look at the size and overall ability, this team does pass the eye test as far as what you want certain position groups to look like. And to me, like there's a lot of things that you've got to look at when you watch a practice in general and 8A in general, and especially, whatever Saturday was. I do think that there are traits and like overall length and size of this roster that we haven't seen at Auburn over the past 5 or 6 years.
I don't know if it's as good as 2017, but that team was probably better balanced. Obviously, they had a special running back.
Sure.
But I think this team, especially in the trenches, is the best team since 2017. That's a great starting point.
Yes.
DBs are deeper. We were just talking about that off air.
Mm-hmm.
Who starts where? How do you set it up and make it most effective? Those are good conversations because they got more players and they do starting spots.
Yep.
Quarterback, Deuce looked pretty good, etc. But my biggest takeaway is the interior defensive line. They just got more bodies.
Yeah, and it was interesting, right after when we were talking to Hugh, he was asked, I think Nathan King asked him, was like, okay, what are you doing in the portal? Like, what positions are you going to go after in the portal? And he kind of danced around it, but in the middle of it, he did say, like, you can't have too many or you can't turn down like elite interior defensive linemen,
100%.
Which is totally like not surprising. I mean, you and I have talked about this a ton. Like, I think Auburn is going to need to add an interior defensive lineman or two and a linebacker. I think those are going to kind of be the main things that they're going to look at. But the current state of the interior defensive line is better currently than I thought it would be going into spring.
It's way better than I thought because the general rule is freshmen and sophomores, if you rely on them on O-line or D-line, that's a risky proposition.
Mm-hmm.
Malik Blocton, we've heard good things throughout the spring, and Jordan Crawford and other guys too, like that have come in. They're competing. I'm not saying they're going to be dominant, but let's say Blocton starts and he's at least above average. He's a big boy, and he just naturally plays
I think
hard.
he will be above average. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. Jameson-Travis has taken the biggest step forward from what I've been told around people.
Starting nose right now. Yeah. I'd be shocked if he wasn't.
Yeah, and we'll see who ends up being the backups and how they rotate. But again, Jordan Crawford's been good. Maybe somebody else. Malik Autry's massive.
I think Malik Autry has a solid shot to be the backup 3 behind Blocton.
Yep.
And then I think behind Bobby Jameson-Travis, you got Dallas Walker, the 4th, the guy from Western Kentucky. Yep. And I think probably Jordan Crawford is right there. I think that's kind of what you're looking at.
Could they use one more guy? Sure. It doesn't have to be somebody that's going to the second round of the NFL draft, but could they get somebody out of the MAC that can get you 10 snaps a game? Sure.
Yeah, that's the defensive line, when they did, full 11 on 11, like it did seem like the defensive line got the better of the offensive line.
Yeah.
But I mean, we talked about this going into it. Like, I don't think anything the offensive line, I said this before, like anything the offensive line does on Saturday, like, I don't know if I care because your starting left tackle's not out there. Your starting center is not out there. And those are two like probable NFL players that weren't out there. And those are probably your 2 most important positions as well. And so like the defensive line should have dominated the offensive line. And also just the nature of, like it's early in the offseason process. Typically that favors the defense as well.
Yeah, I've heard that they had some different guys that played well up front in general this spring. Like Jeremiah Wright was somebody I was told that has played well, et cetera.
Sure.
I still think the two guys you mentioned, like Connor Lew, I think is going to be a long-time NFL player. He didn't play.
Right.
So that sucks because I wanted to see him go up against some of these young D linemen, because if they school Connor, I'll hold them in even higher regard. But
That's true.
If he's out, he's out. It is
happen.
what it is.
Right. Yeah.
So I'll take it as the defense played well. They were really good in goal line at the end of the scrimmage, by the way, but they have more big bodies to rotate, and they just have more length. That is going to benefit you. And like, think about how many close games Auburn was in last year. Having one more D lineman might have been the difference between two more wins.
Yeah.
Crazy as it is, because they were in about 5 1-possession games. It's huge.
Yeah, and I think Auburn has the personnel to be better at pass rusher. I mean, we know what Keldrick Falk is. I think we know what Kieran Crawford is, and he should be a hair better. And then I like Chris Murray. Amaris Williams has generated some praise. Hugh Freeze talked highly of him in the post 8A presser. And then, like, I've heard nothing but good things about Jared Smith, the true freshman, as well. So, like, personnel-wise, like, rushing the passer should be better than it was a year ago when you talk about this defensive line. And once again, just eye test, I think what we saw on Saturday kind of supported that.
I agree. And again, they have more guys in the secondary than the vast majority of teams in college football.
Unbelievable.
If you get just a third of a second more to get to the quarterback over and over again, it's going to relate to more hits, more opportunities for fumbles. Again, these will work out in your favor with the percentages. So more players on both ends, and it's very, very important.
Yeah. We can listen to people all we want, but when people take certain actions, I think that's what's most important. And I think what we saw on Saturday confirms how good Auburn's defensive backfield can be next season. That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out and online shopping, entertainment, it's so easy to lose track of your spending. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO. It gives you the full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. It gives you all the surprising insights and data over your spending, all in one convenience of, okay, you got the budgeting app. Oh, you can also look at your investments. You can look at all of your trends and habits and all of that all in one place. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, no spaces, LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off of your first year. Brian Smith, host of The Portal, hanging out with us. And of course, The Portal is Locked On's daily, usually more than once a day, podcast on recruiting, the transfer portal, NIL. And man, are there some NIL and transfer portal topics going on right now. So head over to check out The Portal. Brian does an outstanding job. So, like, you can look at actions or you can listen to words all you want, but when people do things, I think we need to pay attention. Terrence Love, right after 8A, reports come out that Terrence Love is entering the transfer portal. And I just think when you look at Auburn's defensive backfield, once again, we can talk about eye test, but when you just look at the corner situation of Kayan Lee and Jay Crawford and Ryan Strader and Champ Anthony, and I mean, it keeps going on and on and on. Tyler Scott, Donovan Starr, Blake Woodby. And those are a lot of corners that you feel pretty good about. And then you look at the safety position with, Tay Seymour, the transfer from Georgia Tech got a pick. Kinsley Faustin, Caleb Harris, Sylvester Smith, and then, New Boy Fagans and Eric Winters, continue to impress. Oh my goodness, they do not look like freshmen. Terrence Love, I think, is a solid defensive back, Brian. And I think he's going to get a lot of calls once the portal officially opens and he's able to enter it. But there's not room for him because guys ahead of him are still ahead of him as far as age. And then the younger guys, like Auburn recruited over guys like Terrence Love. And I think the proof of everything we've heard, the proof of all of these rankings and everything we've seen, I know it stinks because I like Terrence Love as a player, but I think it's proof that the defensive back room is borderline elite or has the potential to be borderline elite going into the season.
They've got a lot of options, and especially at corner, they'll be one of the better 1-2 punches to start. Just your base. I know nickel is really your base anymore, and how they do that from game to game will depend on who they play. But
sure,
Auburn will be one of the better corner groups in the country. I still have more questions at safety than I do at corner, just because safety is so much of it is mental, getting guys lined up. That's game to game as well. But
yeah, sure.
Obviously, the talent though is there. Now they just got to make sure they understand the blitz pickup. Like if that guy's going to be picked up, do you drop out of it? You call it off the blitz? All those little things that are all technical. That's it. Yeah. Physically, Auburn is deeper in DBs than they've even been here recently. And it's not like Auburn's been bad at defensive back. They've had guys go to the NFL for how many years in a row they have a DB? It was insane there for a while.
Yeah. No, they had a nice run. Their number one corner continually would get drafted in the first few rounds. DJ James kind of got drafted a lot later than folks expected. But yeah, I mean, they've had an incredible run. I think they'll continue to do that. I mean, I think they've got several NFL corners, future NFL corners on this roster. And so, it stinks that Auburn loses Terrence Love. Then Donovan Starr reportedly tore his ACL as well. So, so I guess they're down 2 corner or 2 defensive backs, but still just an incredibly deep room. If they can maintain all that talent, I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Quarterback. I mean, Jackson Arnold sat out. Sounds like he tweaked his hamstring, a few days prior to that. It was kind of questionable if he'd do the whole 8-day thing or not. And Hugh Freeze said, is it worth it? And I think they made the right call. But Deuce Knight, it was fun to see him get as many reps as he did, Brian. And I think Justin Ferguson said this in his newsletter really well, where he said something along the lines of like, Deuce Knight is a 5-star and Deuce Knight is a freshman. And you saw the example of both of those things on Saturday.
One of the last throws he made, I remember because I was standing in the corner of the end zone and he rolled right, throwing against his body. Guy was open, but he didn't throw it early enough. And New Boy was closing. I said, no. And he let it go and was picked. Like some things that he could get away with playing back in Mississippi, those days are over.
Yeah, sure.
So that was the one unfortunate part. But as far as accuracy, he is night and day from when I even knew him 6-7 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how much he has improved. Shout out to quarterback country down in Mobile, who he works with. They've helped him continuously get better. But when he was throwing on air, just when he first came out, deep shot underneath, whatever, footwork is more consistent. He throws on the run. That one throw he made to the back of the end zone early on, that one was going away from us.
Yeah.
That was as good an NFL throw as I'm going to see all year.
Good catch by Perry as well.
Yeah. For those who didn't get a chance to see it, he rolls right, going against his body and throws the ball, 40 yards in the air? And the guy was covered, like we were just talking about the DBs, elite coverage. Perry just made a play, like diving out of the back of the end zone.
It was beautiful.
It's something that would lead the highlights on like ESPN Sports Center.
It's one of those things where like the cheer from the Auburn fans, like it was delayed because it's like you expected like the ball to squirt out after they hit the ground, and it did. Well, he caught it. It was one of those things. So yeah. I mean, I was impressed with Deuce, right? I mean, the natural throwing ability is certainly there. And we were joking in the box, like, man, does that ball get to point A to point B in a hurry? And his release looked better than I thought, because the whole talk about Deuce Knight during his recruitment was how his upside is tremendous, very high ceiling. We don't know what his floor is. We don't know how ready he's going to be as a freshman. And I don't know if I don't think he's ready to start, week 1 or anything like that, but he's much farther along, Brian. And that's the reports that we heard out of camp. And I think we saw examples of that on Saturday, but he is still a freshman.
The one thing we didn't get to see this past weekend that gives me hope that I'm not taking anything from Jackson Arnold. If he ended up in the lineup for any period of time, I've seen him live run. They're not allowing him to be touched basically in a practice.
Right.
He's 218 pounds now. He's 6'4.5". He's going to be a threat running the football. You combine that with the RPO game that Hugh Freeze likes to run anyway. He's the perfect fit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious if he gets a chance this year for any stretch of time, how much they really turn him loose. He's a very unique athlete, man. He really is.
Yeah, no question. Wish we would have seen more Jackson. And I'm sure, the Auburn fans that were in attendance would have liked to have seen more, or I guess any of Jackson Arnold as far as, live reps. But I don't know. I don't really know if there's anything to make I don't think there's anything to make of like, not seeing Jackson, seeing a lot of Deuce. I think it was just, long term, it may have been a good opportunity just to give Deuce as many reps as possible. I think that's the takeaway.
Yeah. I mean, I was told Jackson has a very minor tweak, but they were just being precautionary, which is the norm. Yeah. Yep. So I'm not disappointed in that. But the other guy that I think that was shocked me because that we'd heard a lot about was Sam Turner. I knew he was good, but people that do not know him, they added not just a good football player. He is twitchy as all get out. He's super competitive. Sam's not the biggest guy. He's an Atlanta area prospect that has just got a moxie to him with those jump balls and stuff. That's going to be a player this year that makes a lot of plays. He's not even going to be able to start.
He still has a lot more size than I was expecting him to, though, because watching his tape, he's a burner. And like he had some moves or whatever too. And he ran routes as well, but he would get behind you and stretch the defense. And when you hear that, you're thinking more of like a Malcolm Simmons type build than I don't know, you stand next to this guy and it's like, oh, you're just like, you have way more size than I was expecting you to.
I think he started to put on weight as soon as he got here. He was a kid that was really slender. He had some upside to him in terms of his frame, and he's taking it serious in the weight room. I think that's the first thing, because
clearly
he came right by me when the pass was over his head, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that's who it was until he was literally next to me, and I read the back of his jersey. And I was like, oh, okay. Point taken.
Yeah. It's like, he looks the part. He absolutely looks the part. I want to jump into the other wide receivers because I just think it's a fascinating conversation, and Sam Turner is certainly part of that. What a day for Perry Thompson. An incredible day for Perry Thompson. What does that mean? That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Supply House. You can get the supplies you need from the site made for skilled trades at Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing or HVAC or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you talk to a real person, not some AI chat bot. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. So you can join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Use our promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That is at supplyhouse.com. Brian Smith, host of The Portal, hanging out with us on this post-A-Day edition of Locked On Auburn. The receivers, to me, they look the part as far as everything that has been discussed. And I mean, the amazing thing is like they kind of stole the show with Cam Coleman last A-Day, and you really didn't notice Cam that much. Perry made probably the biggest plays, but then you would see like Horatio, or then you'd see Sam Turner, and then you'd look at Malcolm, and we didn't see much Eric Singleton because he was returning punts, and then he tweaked something on his hamstring, and so he was gone the rest of the day just to kind of be precautionary, according to Coach Freeze after A-Day. But you just go down this list of guys, man, and they look the part in every single way you could want, Brian.
Yeah, now it's trying to figure out how to use them best and keep them all happy, which I don't know if that's possible in today's era, but it's a good problem to have compared to where Auburn was 2 years ago.
Their eligibility is staggered, so I think that does help as far as like keeping everyone happy, because if somebody's not happy this year and Horatio and Eric leave, it's like, well, now it's your turn. Now it's your turn. So I do think that helps them as far as like making sure the whole room is okay.
Well, now it is just throwing the ball and making it happen in games, because we've heard it.
Yep.
Then we saw it. Now it's just, you got to go to Baylor and make it happen. Yeah. That's bottom line. I know there's no other way to say it. We're going to hear all kinds of stuff during fall camp too, and that's fine. But I need to see them make those plays when they play at Baylor first game of the season.
Yeah.
There's no excuse. Like, the talent is as good as about anybody's in the country at receiver. It's so deep, it's ridiculous. Like, we didn't even talk about Bryce Kane or anything really since I've talked to him the last month. I don't think his name's come up, and he's really talented.
He is.
So, I mean, like, there's only one football. So Horatio Fields was a really good player at Wake Forest. He's not going to start.
Right.
This is a good problem to have.
No doubt. Yeah. Then like the whole Perry, even when Hugh Freeze was asked about Perry's big day, he still was like, yeah, like we've asked him to do some things. He wasn't like super rah about it. Cause like, I think he knows that Perry's still like the fifth receiver on this team. I think if you had to like rank them today as far as what you think they're going to do this season,
him and Horatio would be the guys battling for number 5. Sam Turner is number 4. So yeah.
You have Sam above Horatio?
Yes.
Okay. I think we disagree there, but I do agree that it's close. So I think I would go Cam, Eric, Malcolm, Horatio, Sam, Perry. I think that's my order right now. Which one in order? What a group of 6.
Yeah, it'll take care of itself. There's enough for it to go around, but when you get in big games, if you can rotate a few players in when Cam runs a fly route and he's got to come out of the game for play, and you can still put in a guy that could end up in the NFL.
Yeah.
How many teams can say that? So Auburn will be one of them.
The running back room, I'm super interested in, and we've talked and speculated all spring about them, and I don't think 8A answered any of the questions. And I don't want to say concerns. I'm not concerned with it, but I have same with tight end. Like I'm not concerned with either of the rooms, but I have questions about both of them as far as what's going to be asked of those positions. I mean, I know we're going to ask like the tight end room to block a good bit, and that's why they moved Tate Johnson out there and all of that. But like, I'm not blown away by the running back room, but I think it's good enough. And in this offense, I think good enough is good enough.
I'm curious if Darrell Robinson makes the run at the starting position. I like the way he looks. But I still, the guy that's the puzzle piece to me that needs to fit somewhere that I'm not sure if it will is Jeremiah Cobb. He's so elusive in space. Can they find a way to utilize him more in the pass game? Maybe as a slot. I don't know. But they need somebody with some wiggle. And he's certainly very athletic, but he's not the biggest guy. So how they do that will be the most important piece to me, because Alston's a guy that you kind of know what you're going to get. Robinson's pretty good talent, but he's going to be playing in the SEC for the first time after transferring from UConn. Now you got to find somebody else. It's a complementary player.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with Cobb is I think the role that we all would have liked for Cobb is going to be taken by Singleton and Simmons. As far as like maybe you put him out in the slot and you motion it, or like a bubble screen or something like that. It's like I'd rather those targets go to Singleton or Simmons at this point. And we've heard reports that Singleton is like being used in jet sweeps and stuff in the offense. It's like that stuff that I would have liked Cobb to do, but now like you can't really do that because Singleton's just electric.
Singleton's on another level. So yeah, I would still have him practice some of that in case somebody gets banged up, and that's fine. He's an insurance policy, but if you can get him the ball on some screens or whatever, he may only catch 8 passes this year, but one of them might go 75 yards for a touchdown. Yeah. He's a fast player.
I hope so. I'm sure he wants the ball more than that amount of times, but I would consider that a successful. If you had 8 catches and one of them was for a big touchdown, it's like, that's probably enough, but I don't know if I trust him in pass rushing situations or pass protection. And if he's going to be the third down back or the pass catching back, you probably need to be able to help a blitz pick up too. So I just don't know. I just don't really know how he fits in. I love him as a talent. I just don't see, as you said, the piece of the puzzle. I'm intrigued by it. I'm not concerned with the running back room. I just have questions on how it's all going to look, because I've got a weird suspicion that we're talking about it being a running back by committee type thing. And I wouldn't be shocked if that it ended up not being like that, that 1 or 2 guys just took most of the reps.
It's plausible if somebody earns it. They've shown that they will do that. And I think there's a few guys in there that get better with each touch. So I think Alston would kind of fit that profile, but he's not dynamic. So how many carries are they going to give him? He's just, he's very durable and he knows the offense and he's really consistent. Coaches like that stuff.
Yeah. And he kind of had a few fumbling issues last year. If he fixes that, I'm totally comfortable with Damari, 100%. And then tight end, I think is interesting because like you lose Rivaldo Fairweather. I didn't really notice any of the tight ends on Saturday, which isn't bad because I don't think they're going to be the focal point of the offense like Rivaldo was in certain situations last year. But from a personnel standpoint, like, are they going to play 2 tight ends a lot? Because if that's the case and you're keeping one of these receivers off the field, I'm just curious. Once again, not concerned with the tight end room, but I just have questions.
They used some 12 personnel and blocked, but they really, when they were in that, they didn't throw a ton unless it was a play action or a bootleg or a waggle or something. They're not going to just drop back and just keep extra guys in. They don't have a dynamic Rivaldo Fairweather that they're ready for to use. Well, at least we didn't see it.
Yeah.
Now, I don't remember it, but you've got a different kind of group of receivers too, as we were talking about. As the saying goes, it's math. There's only so many football passes to go around, so something's got to give. And I think the tight end room is going to be much less in regards to actual receptions, but they'll still play a lot of snaps, just used differently.
Yeah. So once again, running back and tight end, like 8A didn't really change my opinion on those rooms one way or the other. Not concerned, just have questions, and hopefully they'll get answered at some point before the season starts. So we'll see. Brian, you've got so much going on right now. How can people check it all out? You got a few national stories that are going on regarding NIL and the transfer portal.
Yeah, if you want to know anything about Nico Iamaleava, I am your guy. That story, I know him, and that story is wild. I potted about him 3 times in 24 hours. So it's Deion Sanders just got a big commitment. There's all kinds of stuff going on, but you can find the Portal Podcast, Recruiting, NIL, and Transfer Portal, all the same places you get Locked on Auburn: Spotify, Apple, Odyssey, YouTube. Just check us out. We will have something for you. I guarantee it.
Yep. There's a lot of content there for sure. Please like the video. Please subscribe. And if you're tuned in on audio, please subscribe there and leave us a review. Helps the show out a ton. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked on Auburn.